Story of 2611 accused Rana said to be extradited to India from US. The United States Supreme Court on Thursday rejected the plea of 2008 Mumbai terror attack accused Tahabur Hussain Rana against his extradition to India. Rana 64 has filed an emergency application for stay after President Donald Trump approved his extradition following his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Rana will be extradited on the basis of India-US extradition treaty signed by the two countries in 1997. Rana is accused of aiding and abetting the reconnaissance for the attacks carried out by David Coleman Headley, with whom he went to school in Pakistan, and participating in the terror conspiracy. Rana was arrested in Chicago in October 2009 for his involvement in the 2611 and the foiled attack on Danish newspaper Jyllands-Posten that same year. The U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois prosecuted him for conspiracy to provide material support to terrorism in India and Denmark and to the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group. The jury acquitted Rana of the charge of conspiring to provide material support to terrorism in India, but convicted him on the other two counts. On Jan 7, 2013, Rana was sentenced to 168 months in prison. On June 9, 2020, he was released on compassionate grounds. A day later, a magistrate judge in California, where Rana was serving his sentence, signed a provisional arrest warrant with a view of extraditing him to India based on December 2019 extradition request. Rana opposed his extradition on the ground of double jeopardy. A magistrate judge rejected his arguments on May 2023. Rana then petitioned the US District Court for the Central District of California for writ of habeas corpus. After this was rejected on August 10, 2023, he appealed the Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. This too was rejected. Rana then filed a writ of certiorari in Supreme Court, which was rejected on Jan 21. India-US extradition treaty was established a legal framework for the extradition of individuals charged with or convicted of serious offences in either country. An offence is extraditable if it is punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year. Under the laws of both countries, political offences are not extraditable under the treaty. However, certain actions such as murder or other willful crime against a head of state or government or a member of their family, aircraft hijacking and aviation sabotage, crimes against internationally protected persons, and hostage taking, etc., are not construed as political offences under the treaty. Following his provisional arrest in 2020, US authorities had submitted in court that Rana should be cleared for extradition to India as his offences and legal situation met all criteria required under the extradition treaty. They said there was probable cause to believe that Rana committed the offences to which he had been accused in India. The US government submitted that it was not proceeding on Indian charges such as membership of a terror organization, conspiracy to wage war, and conspiracy to commit terrorist act because did not fully fulfill the criteria of dual criminality. However, the dual criminality requirement of extradition treaty is met because of the remaining charged offences unpunishable in India and United States. Rana claim of double jeopardy argument that India intended to prosecute him for the same offences of which he has been acquitted by the Chicago court was rejected by the US Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit on the ground that Indian charges had elements distinct from the charges under which he had been prosecuted and eventually acquitted. The court held that India had provided sufficient competent evidence to support the magistrate's judge's finding of probable cause that Rana committed the charged crimes. There have been only two extraditations of alleged terrorists from the US to India so far. Alleged Khalistanis Charanjit Singh Cheema and Kulbir Singh Kulbira in February 2005 and 2006. According to data provided by Ministry of External Affairs to Parliament, the treaty facilitated the extradition of only 11 fugitives, between 2008 and 2018. Of these, two individuals was accused of the sexual abuse of children, another attempt to murder. The rest were accused of financial fraud and cheating. The government told Parliament recently that 65 requests for extradition remain pending with the US. The US has rejected several requests for the extradition from India, most importantly of Rana's associate Headley. The Lashkar operative who was born Daud Gilani was arrested in 2009. He was tried and sentenced by a US court for the killing of six Americans in the Mumbai attacks after he pleaded guilty to the charges. One of the key terms of his plea bargain was that he would not be extradited to India. The US had earlier rejected India's request to extradite Warren Anderson, who was CEO of Union Carbide at the time of the 1984 Bhopal gas leak. Anderson had been arrested by police in India, but he was soon given bail and allowed to leave the country. Almost 20 years later, in May 2003, India sent a request for extradition to the US, which was declined on the ground of insufficient evidence. Emerging fallouts of traffic correction. Emerging fallout of tariffs. Trump wants to destroy the unfair global trade order to usher in the golden age of America. Early repercussions, however, suggest that they may be beginning to undermine decades of US exceptionalism. President Donald Trump has announced reciprocal tariffs on US trade partners from April 2 to correct the very unfair situation of the two countries, charging the US tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. In his speech to a joint session of Congress on March 4, Trump specifically mentioned the European Union, China, Brazil, India, and Mexico and Canada. The president and his supporters firmly believe that the only way to stop the rest of the world being freeloaders benefiting from the US largesse is by US reevaluating its international relationships in every way. Thus, if European countries or other traditional US allies do not pay the US or benefit it in trade, the US will no longer provide them protection or financial assistance. Trump is betting that, given the strength of US economy and its record of sustained growth even against terrible odds, often referred to as US exceptionalism, the threat of tariffs will force foreign countries and countries to set shop inside the US, reducing trade tariffs, boosting American manufacturing and creating jobs and prosperity. It will be like nothing that has been seen before, Trump told Congress. Many have pointed that Trump are deeply counterproductive, and the US may already have started to drift towards recession. And given how Trump is running American foreign policy, it may not be even it may not even have many friends left if and when it falters. China and Canada, countries against whom tariffs went into force this week, have hit back with counter tariffs, and Mexico is preparing to do the same. And with the 7 decade old transatlantic partnership with the US seemingly upended, several European countries are planning to build up their own economies. Earlier this week, Friedrich Merz, who will likely become the next Chancellor of Germany, announced that Europe's largest economy will raise hundreds of billions of euros in extra spending on defense infrastructure. Economic growth has been stagnant, and most Western economies since the global financial crisis of 2008. This has led to falling per capita incomes and productivity and fueled social unrest. Britain leaving the European Union is one example how economic stress and social unrest triggered counterproductive and reactionary decisions. The president tariff actions have introduced an unprecedented levels of trade policy uncertainty in global markets. This means that business people, especially on two sides of the Atlantic Ocean, are completely clueless when and how tariffs will affect them, how much their products would cost after tariffs, and what the demand would be at the higher price, whether they need to fire some employees or hire new ones. Consumers are simply confused and anxious. The relative performance of the various stock market indices is a good indicator of how firms and investors are looking at Trump's tariffs. The S&P 500 index, which tracks the top 500 companies listed in the US, is below at its level at the start of 2025, while the Stocks Europe 600 has outperformed handsomely. Stocks has 600 companies of large, mid, and small capitalization spread over 17 European countries. European country specific indices such as French benchmark CAC 40, the DAX of German blue chips, and the Spanish benchmark IBEX has also done better. Dollar versus rest, another indicator is in the way the US market has moved against competing currencies. Since March 3, the dollar has weakened against all its closest competitors, its Canadian cousin, the euro, Japanese yen, and the Chinese yuan. This is a change from the situation prevailing for several months during which the dollar has risen relentlessly against all currencies. The relative performance of the various stock markets indices is a good indicator of how firms and investors are looking at Trump's tariffs. S&P 500 index, which tracks the top 500 countries listed in the US, is below its level at the start of 2025, while the Stocks Europe 600 has outperformed handsomely. Stocks has 600 companies of large, mid, and small capitalization spread over 17 European countries. European country specific indices such as French benchmark CAC 40, the DAX of German blue chips, and the Spanish benchmark IBEX have also done better. Another indicator is in the way another indicator is in the way the US dollar has moved against the competing currencies. Since March 3, the dollar has weakened against all its closest competitors, its Canadian cousin the euro, Japanese yen, and the Chinese yuan. The US was the only major economy that registered a genuine V-shaped recovery post-pandemic, which requires the absolute GDP to reach the level it would have been at there had there been no economic disruption. 50% of the global transactions are invoiced in dollars, making it the default currency of international order. The US is the world's biggest economy by size, and its policy choices have global impact. Trust in the dollar's purchasing power during times of uncertainty is second only to trust investors have in gold. As Trump has gone about his tariff policy, there has been broad-based sell-off in government bonds of Germany, France, Japan, etc. As a result of yields of 10-year government bonds in all these countries have registered a sharp spike. Investors are selling because they anticipate the issuance of fresh bonds with better returns as these developing countries start borrowing billions of dollars to boost their domestic economies. Bond yields and bond prices move up in opposite directions. That's because every government bond carries a set amount of absolute return called a coupon rate. Yield is size of the coupon as the proportion of the bond price, and when there is a sell off, bond prices fall and their yields go up even at the same coupon rate. So when there is a sell off, bond prices fall, yield goes up. Why Vata Nat one Vanuatu boasts one of the most popular golden passport schemes. Former IPL chief Lalit Modi has applied to surrender his passport to the Indian High Commission in London and acquired the citizenship of Vanuatu, a tiny island nation in the South Pacific, Ministry of External Affairs confirmed. Vanuatu has a popular citizenship by investment, a golden passport program, which allows wealthy individuals to purchase its passport. CBI or economic citizenship allows individuals to acquire citizenship in a country by making significant financial contributions to its economy. Countries around the world, often foreign citizenships, according to website of investment migration firm Global Residence Index, Vanuatu citizenship by investment program is the fastest and most simple citizenship program available. Very few documents are required and all documentation can be provided digitally, meaning the application did not have to set foot in the country to become a citizen. Vanuatu Citizenship by Investment Program is the fastest and most simplest citizenship program available. As of 2025, Vanuatu passport allows visa-free entry to 113 countries. NLA Passport Index ranks Vanuatu passport as the 51st strongest passport in the world. India ranks 80. Vanuatu's passport was even stronger until March 22 when the European Council temporarily suspended its visa-free access to European Union due to security concerns. Vanuatu is for all intents and purposes a tax haven. It has zero tax jurisdiction that is free of personal income tax, capital gains tax, inheritance tax, wealth tax. While Vanuatu does charge indirect taxes such as VAT as well as tax on property transactions, rates are typically lower than other countries. For what remains a very poor country with a per capita GDP of only $3,500, there is major financial incentive to be a tax haven. Offshore financial services is one of the biggest revenue generators for the country. Vanuatu has faced multiple corruption scandals and allegations that its citizenship and tax laws are being used by the global criminal syndicates. Analyzing more than 2,000 global passports issued in 2020, Global Report Guardian reported that among those granted citizenship were a Syrian businessman with US sanctions against his business, a suspected North Korean politician, an Italian businessman accused of extorting the Vatican, former member of the notorious Australian motorcycle gang, and etc. US butterfly population declined by 22% since 2000 find study. Second installment of Shubhadra Sri Mohan Charan Manji, Odisha. US top court rejects Rana bid to stall his extradition to India. India has agreed to cut tariffs, finally exposing them. Trump. Stalin delimitation has been weaponized against states that fulfill duties. Want to give up Indian partnership I have with Vanuatu citizenship. Lalit Modi. With dignity and respect, it is customary to celebrate femininity on International Women's Day. Promises are made, schemes announced, and at times tears are shed. on the state of women, but have we ever paused and asked, why is there no International Men's Day? The answer is simple. We built a world centered around men and created all institutions accordingly. We compelled women to be silent participants in that world. We assumed that silence was a weakness and that women hence needed a system to protect them. We understood the physical strength of men as the real power and the battles he waged and the empires he built as real manliness. We didn't realize that given an opportunity, a woman too can display the same physical strength as a man. Instances like Golda Meir's leadership during the Yom Kippur's War in Israel or Indira Gandhi's role during Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971 are seen as exceptions. Physical strength is not about gender, it is about institutional structures we create. Since they are centered around men, we have armies of men, but in the past, women have led armies several times. Joan of Arc led the French forces in the Hundred Years' War. In 15th century, Queen Isabella one's support was crucial to the Spanish army in unifying war. Catherine the Great led the Russian army against the Ottomans and expanded her country's territory. In India, too, there are several such examples. These include Rani Rudrama Devi of the Kakatiya dynasty in South India in the 12th century, and Begum Razia Sultana, the Queen of Delhi, who defended the kingdoms efficiently from foreign invaders. Jijabhai Bhosle inspired her son Shivaji to establish Badshahi, an independent Hindu nation, and Tarabai, a widow of Rajaram Bhosle, Shivaji's son, took it upon herself to ward off the continued Mughal efforts to take over the kingdom. Rani Durgavati, queen of Gondwana, fought against the Mughal invaders for several years. The Tulwa queen of Rani Abbaka Chota defended Ullal in Karnataka from the Portuguese invaders for 40 years. The British Army had to endure the ferocity of several women leaders in wars. Velu Nachiyar, Queen of Shivganga, fought and defeated the British Rani Chennamma of Kittur fought the British until death to defend her freedom. Then there were legendary rulers like Avanti Bai of Ramgarh and Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. The real power of a woman doesn't lie in her physical strength, but in her role as the creator. Men assume that they are stronger, but the strength required for procreation, struggle that a woman has to wage for months, and the pain that she endures at the time of delivery is probably beyond men's imagination. Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet, said, the children are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. When creation longed for its eternity, it chose women to uphold the responsibility for its perpetuity. In that sense, women are far more important and superior in nature's scheme of things. Traditional societies like India understood this and accorded a higher status to motherhood to women. Motherhood is not just about giving birth to children, it is about women's higher power of creation. Gandhi's wife Kasturba was referred to as Ba, meaning mother in Gujarati. Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans regarded his wife Sharda Devi as the Divine Mother. Some women abhor this description because they look at motherhood from a Victorian prism. Victorian morality, the orthodox social order that was strictly implemented in England during the reign of Queen Victoria, regarded women as mere procreative machines. Victorian men were supposed to be strong, ambitious, independent, while women were weak, dependent, and submissive. Women were seen as the property of men. They could neither own property nor have any political rights like voting. Certain aspects of Victorian morality came to influence in India too during the colonial subjugation. Women were confined to homes and limited freedoms were accorded to them. The freedom of women came to be identified with promiscuity. The birth of a girl became a burden, and regressive practices like female feticide became a norm among certain communities. Gandhi was among the prominent men in modern times to reject that mindset. In a letter to Rajkumari Amrit Kaur in October 1936, he insisted that women themselves should resist being slaves of men. If you women only realize your dignity and privilege and make full sense of it for mankind, you will make it much better than it is. But man has delighted in enslaving you, and you have proved willing slaves till the slave and holders have become on one in the crime of degrading humanity. I was once a slaveholder myself, but Bab proved an unwilling slave and thus opened my eyes to my mission. Gandhi even upheld a woman's right to live separately from an unjust husband. The dignity and privilege that Gandhi talked about is the key. He called for a mindset change from a man centric approach to a man women centric one. Gender equality in actions and gender neutrality in perception is the need of the hours. The objectification of womanhood is the concern to be addressed seriously. Hillary Clinton once said, "If I want to knock a story off the front page, I just change my hairstyle." The safety of women lies not in restricting their lives, but in according dignity and respect to them. Swami Vivekananda was once asked about his views on the protection of women. He laughed out loudly and said, "Protection of women? You will protect her. She is Durga, she is Kali, Mahishasur Mardini, and Sakshat Jaganmata herself. And you want to protect her, respect her," he said, "so that her safety is automatically taken care of." Language wars. This refers to the two articles, a fig leaf of an imposition, and protect language. Don't politicize it. The center should conduct a survey in northern states to find out the percentage of people who can read, write, and speak three languages. Education Minister Pradhan says he is not imposing Hindi but providing an incentive for students to study one more language. So, if Tamil Nadu should opt to teach one more South Indian language like Kannada or Malayalam, which would be easier for students to learn. This refers to the editorial movement to party. A student led political party has been launched in Bangladesh with the avowed aim of fulfilling the new hopes and aspirations. The Jatiya Nagrik Party's top brass include young activists who played a key role in the anti-discrimination movement. Their decision to form their own party reflects their disenchantment with the interim government headed by Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus. Bangladesh today stands on the brink of a precipice. It needs sweeping reforms to restore democracy, but other political groups are getting impatient for elections. However, it is obvious that Bangladesh Nationalist Party cannot consider its return to power as a foregone conclusion. Another key stakeholder is Army General Waqaruzzaman. The Bangladeshi military growing closeness to Pakistan indicates that he has big ambition of his own. This refers to editorial of big powers and pawns. It looks like we are going back to an era of imperialism where rulers fought to occupy more and more land. Donald Trump has been trying to upend the policies of Biden administration by justifying the Russian occupation of some Ukraine territories. His suggestions about the inclusion of Canada as the 51st state of US and the annexation of Greenland do look superfluous but surely paint him more as a tyrant leader than the president of a democratic country. Is liberalism in jeopardy and is imperialism going to become the norm again? If yes, then the true torchbearers of democracy around the world need to act swiftly. Diplomacy and the table manners, the impoliteness of Donald Trump and JD Vance should not be seen as an aberration, for that directs us to spurious belief in polite and civilized world leaders who have best interest at heart. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has consistently ensured that women are not just participants but leaders in shaping Viksit Bharat. Women's empowerment has never been a mere slogan for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It reflects the values he has practiced and championed throughout his life. He witnessed the struggles of his mother and learned from her values, from his time as an RSS pracharak to his leadership in the BJP, and now as the Prime Minister, Modi has consistently broken barriers, challenged norms, and ensured that women are not just participants but leaders in shaping Viksit Bharat. Many, including myself, recall how he consistently advocated for a greater representation of women in party bodies. At the working body meeting at the part of the party in Baroda, he played a key role in securing 30% reservation for women in party's organizational structure. However, he wanted women to move beyond symbolic roles and take on significant leadership positions. Several instances can be mentioned about Modi's approach to advancing women in politics, whether it was about ensuring women candidates in the 2009 Lok Sabha elections in Gujarat, and more recently, Women Chief Minister in Delhi. As Gujarat's Chief Minister, he ensured that several villages and municipal areas had entire administrative units led by women. In municipal bodies, he actively promoted women as mayors or deputy mayors, standing committees. Modi firmly believed that gender equality should begin at home. While dining at the home of Karyakartas, he would never allow girls to be excluded from the dining with boys. He always advised Karyakartas to provide equal opportunities for women, boys, and girls. As Gujarat's chief minister, Modi introduced schemes that not only empowered women across state but also became models for national programs. After 2014, Gujarat launched the Beti Badhao mission to eliminate female foeticide and raise awareness about the value of girl child. Modi's strong beliefs in education tool for empowerment led to the launch of Kanya Kelavani program in 2003. Chiranjeevi Yojana aims to reduce maternal and infant mortality by promoting institutional deliveries, and under the vision of Prime Minister Modi, women are no longer seen as mere beneficiaries.